Is Gary O'Neill in the frame to become the next manager of Southampton Football Club? We also have a news story surrounding the game on Saturday and what's happening for Remembrance Day. And I'm going to be discussing Tonda Eckert and whether he has the chance of becoming the next manager of the Saints. Welcome along to the Football Martin channel. This is Saints News here on the channel, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or you're listening in audio format. It's an absolute privilege to have every single one of you here. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate all the comments. Make sure you do get involved and give me all your opinions on today's news. But I am going to kick off with that story surrounding Gary O'Neill. His odds have massively been shortened over the last sort of 2 to 3 hours, and I'm recording this at sort of 9:30 on Thursday evening. And Gary O'Neill, who was a player at Portsmouth in his playing days, also managed down at Bournemouth, is emerging as one of the favourites to become the next manager of Southampton Football Club. And that is according to the latest betting odds. I don't have any inside information, but there is a link, isn't there, with O'Neill, because he is from the South Coast. He did live down this neck of the woods for a long part of his career. He's turned down the Wolves job this week. He was asked to speak to Wolves about going back there to manage them again, and he's turned it down. So he is very much a free agent at this moment in time. But the big question is, why have his odds been slashed? Well, I've been asked this a bit, and it could be the story that was ran on Sky Sports News today, and our ex-striker was on there as well, Charlie Austin. He was saying that Saints should go and get Gary O'Neill, but I'm not convinced it's all down to that. Maybe he's had an interview. Maybe they've had a conversation with it. Look, they'll be interviewing candidates. They'll be speaking to managers, and maybe he's had a conversation and a few people that are in the know are throwing a few quid on it. I wouldn't bet on this one happening. I don't see Gary O'Neill becoming the Saints manager. I may be massively wrong. I'm going to tell you very shortly who I do believe is going to become the next Southampton manager. I do have a hunch at this moment in time. But at this moment in time, Gary O'Neill has emerged as one of the favourites alongside Russell Martin. The former Portsmouth player would be a very controversial choice, in my opinion. His time at Fratton Park was good for him. He was a good player for them, but I played there for a long period of time. He had a solid coaching career. Bournemouth, he'd done a good job down there. Went to Wolves in the Premier League, struggled a bit if we're honest, but I think it would cause a massive stir and split the fan base. It wouldn't split the fan base as much as the Russell Martin appointment, which won't happen. But with O'Neill playing at Pompey, I don't particularly like it personally. He's managed around 100 games in management when I had a look earlier on. He's recorded 31 wins, 7 draws and 52 defeats. That's according to ChatGTP, which may be out, but it's usually pretty accurate, to be quite honest. A win ratio of around 31%. He's supposedly tactically sharp and organised. His results have been massively mixed, though. He did pull out of the running to become the Wolves manager this week. He's also been linked potentially with Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough have been approached. They have been approached. I think it was a few hours ago for their manager, Rob Edwards, because Wolves are obviously looking for a manager and they quite like the look of Rob Edwards. I think if Rob Edwards had any sense, he would stay where he is right now with Middlesbrough because they're flying. I'm not sure why he want to jump and go to Wolves. I know they're a Premier League club, but I saw Simon Jordan on TalkSport the other day listening to it, and he made a really good point. I'm going off on a tangent here, but it's football chat. He did go on and say he's under a really good owner at the moment in Gibson, and Borough's a great club to be at. And yeah, I'd be surprised to see Rob Edwards go to Wolves. I'm not sure who ends up as the next Wolves manager, but that is not what we're here. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about who's going to become the next Southampton manager. Gary O'Neill, would you accept it? Yes or no? Wouldn't quite be as bad as Harry Redknapp, but going from becoming he was a Portsmouth manager and ended up as a Saints manager. That was the worst of all time, and it was just toxic from the start, really. It just was never very nice, never sat very well. I think this would be very different. Obviously, he's looking to get back in as a manager, O'Neill. He talks very well, but I don't know, he moans about refs a lot when I've seen him in press conferences, but I'm not saying I dislike him. I just don't see it being a fit. I don't know why. It doesn't feel like a fit to me, Gary O'Neill. coming to Southampton. Just give me all your thoughts, all your reaction to it. And it is, at this moment in time, it's just pure and utter speculation. This isn't speculation, the next story that I want to bring to you, because Tonda Eckler, if I pronounce that correctly, the young caretaker manager, making his mark last night against Queen's Park Rangers in the Sky Bet Championship. He has impressed people at the football club. He continues to impress after stepping up from the under-21s to take charge of the first team. He's just 32 years old, and his journey to the hot seat at this moment in time is a very interesting one. I've been looking into it this afternoon because I wanted to find out a little bit more about him. And his coaching career started with analysis, a bit like Will Steele started analysing games. His career includes some time with the German national team, Fortuna, Cologne, and some time with the Red Bull system at RB Leipzig as well. He's also had spells in England, which I didn't realise, with Barnsley, and most recently with Genoa, where he did work under Patrick Vieira, who has also been linked with the manager's job at our football club. So, look, he's done really well to get to where he's got to. A very, very young man in this moment in time. And what you're hearing coming out of the club and what's rumbling, and you hear the main media guys, I'm talking Alfie, House, Echo, Adam Blackmore, BBC Radio, Solent. And I was listening to Total Saints podcast earlier on because they've had an episode out this evening. And I kind of feel that from what they were saying, what Alfie was saying, that it is kind of like coming out that he is being considered. He is 100% being considered for the job, for the permanent job, if results go his way. He's got the two of the easiest fixtures on, but that we've had really consecutively back-to-back. Queen's Park Rangers, who were freaking dreadful last night, let's be quite honest, they were terrible. And then we got a Wednesday side at the weekend, and no disrespect to either side. Wednesday, they've got 6 or 7 injuries the weekend. They've also got a tiny squad because of everything that's gone on there. Transfer embargo, everything else that's happened at Wednesday. Want to find out a bit more about Wednesday, go check out my pre-match preview. That's a brilliant, brilliant show with James that I did earlier on this morning. It's well worth a look. But what I would say is that I think he will pick up another 3 points on Saturday. I think he gets 6 points in a week. And I have a feeling, my hunches from what are kind of feeling and the people you talk to, that he will probably end up as the next permanent manager, probably to the end of the season. A lot of people saying to me, how are you feeling? What are you thinking, Martin? I constantly get asked it. Look, I have been really clear. I think they need a leader. I think they need a well-experienced manager, not a 32-year-old. There's not time for messing around. If they're serious about getting back to the Premier League, you cannot spend the amount of money that we've spent on players and then just go and make a rogue choice as the next manager. Yeah, he may be a really good up-and-coming manager. Brilliant. Well, bring someone in that's experienced and let him work with that experienced manager. If that's Patrick Vieira, if that's whoever it may be, if you feel he's going to kick on, get him working with a top manager at our football club. To jump from the under-21s to the men's team is a huge jump. And we all spoke about players not respecting Will Steele and the players, like, a lot of people kept on about this, not respecting Will Steele. Are they going to respect this guy then? Are they? That's what I'm asking you, because I don't see it. If they didn't respect Will Steele, who'd done a really good job in France, an unbelievable job in France, in the clubs that he'd been at, and he come to England. I know he had all this PlayStation, football manager nonsense, the lazy chit-chat that went with it. He'd achieved a lot in his managerial career in a short period of time. This is a very young man that hasn't actually managed a men's team at a high level. So it's a huge, huge gamble. Look, I think this appointment, if it happens, I really like him. I think he seems a really lovely guy. But I do think if it happens, it's a tough one for him, because you've got to get all the fans on side, and then you've also got to get all the players on side. And the minute results don't go, any manager's a gamble, by the way. No matter who the manager is a gamble. But if results don't get going from the get-go, he ends up under pressure, and Sport Republic end up under pressure. I just don't feel it's the right thing to do now. Maybe down the road, if he continues to impress with the 21s, But they say when he come here, Alfie House said it's not on Total Saints podcast. I didn't know this, but they were talking about it's a big coup when he come here to the football club. So for me, I just don't feel it's the right thing to do. I've seen assistant managers and under 21 managers appointed as the Saints manager in my time supporting the Saints, and they go right back to Dave Merrington when he got promoted and become the manager. I think it was after can't remember who it was after, maybe after Dave Jones around that time. He got promoted. Lovely guy, Dave Merrington, but just didn't improve the team and struggled managing. And he's a strong character. I know it was a long time ago, it's back in the 90s, but it just didn't work. We've had Stuart Gray after that back end after Glenn Hoddle. Again, assistant manager. That didn't work neither. We then had Steve Wigley for a period of time. Another terrible appointment. I don't think he ever won a Saints game. And then recently you have Ruben Sellers. I just think it's a big gamble. And if you want to be serious and you want all the fans on board and you want to fill the stadium up every week and you want the fan zones busy, go and get a manager that's be ambitious. Be ambitious. It's not like just be ambitious and have a proper go at it, because there's a lot of points to play for. There's still just short of 100 points to play for. We could more than easily get the playoffs if we had a good run. You could get top 2. This is not the best league. It's not a great league. And everybody I talk to that's watched this league over a consecutive amount of time, people in the game, people in and around football clubs, and I was even chatting to James from the Wednesday Till I Die podcast day. He said to me, it's a poor league. But with the squad we've got and the player and the personnel we've got and what we could do in January, I think we got to kick on now. I think we need a fresh start. I think we need to bring somebody to coach the players, get us organised, start to get some patterns of play. I was chatting to a friend of mine today, another massive Saints fan. He said to me, do you think we're fit? We don't look as fit as we did. I'm agreeing. I think there's a lot to work on, but I think that comes from somebody with experience and nous. And I think you could write the season off before Christmas if you're not careful, because if you bring the wrong man in now and it goes tits up, it goes wrong, it could be all over by Christmas. You'd be looking like, we've got a long way to go to get near the playoffs. And then gates drop and then the atmosphere becomes naff. And last season was a write-off by Christmas. It was. We were down by Christmas. Let's not go and do that again. I would hate to see that happen. So that's my opinion on it. I really like Tonda Eckler, and I'd love to know more about him. Love a conversation with him at some stage. But for me right now, go and get a really, really strong appointment in the door. And finally, today on Saints News here on the channel, one story to bring to you from the club ahead of the game against Sheffield Wednesday at the weekend. Southampton Football Club will hold a remembrance ceremony ahead of the game on Saturday against Sheffield Wednesday, paying tribute to former players and supporters who gave their lives in the World Wars. The event will begin at 12:30 outside the Itching Stand, where the club will reveal a new memorial plaque featuring the names of 42 former Saints who died during service, as well as 4 ex-players who lost their lives as civilians. The ceremony is open to fans and will include a wreath laying and a performance of the last pose before kickoff. Members of the armed forces will be in attendance. This year's guests of honour are the family of Dennis Angel, a former Saints player who served as a rear gunner with the RAF Bomber Command during World War II. Angel was tragically killed in action over in Berlin in 1943. Greg Baker, the Chief Revenue Officer for the football club, went on to say, it's a privilege to keep honouring those who wore our colours and then served with such courage. Their stories remind us that football is a part of something much bigger, a community, a history, and it's shared and respected by those who gave everything. Finally, for you Saints fans, if you believe you have a family member or connection to a former Southampton player who died in either the World War, they would love to hear from you. Please get in contact with David Bull. I am going to leave all of his details in the show notes below. That wraps up today's Saints news here on the Football Martin channel. Really, really appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you get involved in the comments box below. And if you want to help the channel with a small monthly contribution, you can do so. Patreon.com/Football Martin. Some exclusive content, whether that's video content, player ratings, or some editorial content. Please do go check it out. There's several tiers to choose from, and every little bit of help is absolutely huge to this channel. Take care, and I'll see you again very soon.